What's up, you guys? It's Janae,
And Theo.
and we're back here on Black Vision Network with another episode. Before you get started, if you're new to our channel, we are a channel that's dedicated to the education, counseling, business, and healthcare betterment for Black people. And today we have a special guest. I'm gonna let Theo go ahead and start us off.
All right. So, as you know, we're wanting to talk about mental health on our channel, make it less of a taboo topic in the Black community. So today, as Janae said, we have a special guest, and we want to get people on our platform who are experts. So today we have a member of the family on our channel, Miss Joslyn Hudson. She is currently pursuing a master's in social work with a concentration in mental health. So, without further ado, Joslyn, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Joslyn. I am Theodora's little auntie, physically little, but I'm older. I go to school at Southern Illinois in Carbondale. I have a bachelor's degree in journalism, and that concentration was in advertisement and graphic design. And I graduated in 2018. Then I worked for a little bit, and kind of through that I realized what I really wanted to do. I was working at FedEx office, and I was doing a lot of printing and packaging and just stuff like that. And it's something I really just didn't want to do. And I think doing that kind of put me on a path to do what I wanted to do, which is work in mental health. And then through that, I ended up going back to school and grad school in Carbondale. And now I'm in my last semester. After break, it'll be my last semester, and I'll graduate in 2021 in May. And that's what's going on for right now.
Well, that's awesome. So, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and how that kind of shaped your choice to get into the mental health field.
I'm from Chicago, middle of the city, southwest side, right next to Midway Airport. And pretty much, I think growing up, we did not have a lot of conversations about mental health in my family too much. Our family too much. I mean, we do have family members who do suffer from mental health issues and conditions, and I feel like that's the most we go. We don't really talk about like the smaller issues or issues that may seem smaller, like anxiety and depression and stuff like that. I mean, growing up in a Black family, you tell your mama you're depressed, it's like, what do you have to be depressed about? You don't know what depression is. Like, what do you even know about being depressed? But you really are depressed, but they kind of overlook it, or they don't really acknowledge it, or they think that you just sad about something, you'll get over it. But our parents know us, but they don't really know what we do outside of them. So I feel like that kind of put me on a path to want to be in mental health, especially with children, because like I said, I mean, when you're 7 to 8, you probably really don't know what depression actually is. But if you feel sad, if you feel down, if you usually go outside, now all of a sudden you don't really want to go outside no more. If you usually hang out with your friends, now you're like, I'd rather be alone. Like, you may not know that you are depressed, or you may not know, why you feel the way you feel, but you feel different. And I feel like, as a kid, I'm not saying that I was like a sad, like lonely kid, but it is children who, I can say raised kind of like the way we were raised, like pretty much spoiled kids who, when it comes to mental health, they're not really recognized. When it comes to their mental health, it's more so you have everything you could ever want. What do you have to be sad about? But just because, you can have all of these material things does not mean that you're exempt from being anything other than happy, if that makes sense. And I just feel like I kind of want to work in mental health, specifically with children, just so I can kind of psychoeducate older Black people, especially parents, because like I said, they kind of don't, my kid is happy all the time. I kind of want to psychoeducate them on if you even if your kid is happy, let's keep it that way. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep it that way, and then let's also have these conversations with our children about how they feel about certain things. As far as, like, for an example, like if a parent is moving away and you just up and leave, you may want to bring it up to your kid, like, I want you to know that we are moving soon, and I want to know how you feel about it, and I want to know when we get to our new place, what can I do as a parent to ease it for you? Do you need me to do this? Do you need me to do that? Pretty much just teach parents how to just be open with their children and not be so close-minded when it comes to their mental health, pretty much. I kind of wish I had somebody like that, like a therapist or something like that back in my day. Not to say that I was an unhappy child, but, just to have somebody to talk to and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, that there's a little bit of a difference in the Black community and how mental health is addressed. So kind of in Carbondale, I don't know, when I visited there, it's a bit different than where we grew up. Talk about how, kind of as you explored and got to live life more, the differences that you saw in mental health as it is in different communities and white communities or of different backgrounds, what the difference is in different communities for mental health.
Well, I can say in Carbondale, it's like a really small town. It's really southern. It's a lot of Confederate flags. It's a lot of Trump 2020 signs. It's a lot of more, I guess, quote Republic. It's like a Republican area, I guess I can say. I mean, and the population I work with at my graduate assistantship, it's a lot of younger parents. And they're about our age, and some of them are single parents, some are like co-parenting, a lot of stuff like that going on, and they have a lot of mental health issues, and I feel like they go to like treatment facilities, rehab, stuff like that. I mean, they have to do it in order to keep their children in the home or bring their children back, because I work with kids who are involved in DCFS. So I feel like in that specific area, I feel like they do recognize it a lot. I feel like it may come from, unfortunately, if a parent does drugs while they're pregnant, and then they have their child, and then the child comes out with it's just so many different like conditions that the kid could have. And I feel like from there, that's when they start talking about mental health, because the child like was probably exposed to like drugs, alcohol while they were in the womb and stuff like that. So I think that kind of starts it off, I want to say, when it comes to mental health in that specific area. And I also kind of feel like the white community is more open to recognizing mental health with themselves, and especially with their children, I feel like, and also in that area. But I feel like in the Black community, like I said, I feel like when it comes to the older generation, like my parents and my brothers and sisters, I just feel like they didn't really grow up like that. They didn't grow up talking about mental health themselves. So when it comes to, the younger generation, it's like they were never taught it. They were never taught it, or it's just something that's like, I can't imagine my sister telling my dad, "Oh, I think I'm depressed." When she was 15, he's probably like, "Yeah, what do you have to be depressed about?" type thing. But it's a generational thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that, if your great-great-grandparents didn't believe in it, and your great-great-great-grandparents and your great-great-grandparents, it's something that has to be taught through generations. I feel like in the Black community, I feel like since we're millennials, like we're open to it, and we know, and then all three of us, we've been to college, so we've seen it up close and personal. We probably face our own mental issues and stuff like that. And I just feel like, for my brothers and sisters, they didn't really get the chance to like go off to college and stuff like that. They pretty much all just worked and stuff like that. And then like my parents, I don't think really talked to them about mental health. I feel like since they were born in like the 1940s, what was mental health then? And then not only that, we got to think about during those times, if somebody was sick or somebody did have a mental health condition, can doctors or therapists or psychologists, do they even know what it is? you know, you got to think about the resources they had at that time. Like, do I have the resources? Do I have the mental capacity to be able to diagnose you? You know what I mean? Like, they'll tell you that I'm having hallucinations and I'm seeing things, and they're like, I don't really know what else to tell you because they didn't really know what it was. And then I just feel like, yeah, it's a generational thing. But I do feel like the white community, I feel like they are more open to mental health issues and conditions within themselves, within the family, within their own families. And I feel like for the black people, I feel like, yeah, they're not really open. We are not really open. I can't say they because I'm black too. We are not really open to it, especially, like I said, the older generations. And then they also have a tendency to say, oh, those are white people problems. Or, you know, especially when black people commit suicide, they'll say, oh, that's that white people shit. You know, black people don't do that. You know, like, we're not exempt from mental health conditions, you know, so. Yeah.
You want to get into one of these?
Well, some she said earlier, but then I was just listening. But I think it was about the way mental health is addressed. And I know you said you wanted to focus on children, but, like, in order to focus on children, you have to focus on the environment they're in, which is set by their parents. And then I was thinking, you were saying it's a generational thing, and I was like, it definitely is, because different generations had resources. But I feel like each generation, we, like, peel back a shell or peel back a layer, because they probably did better than their parents did. And their parents probably did better than their parents did. So, like, I feel like it's really good that people like you are starting to, like, actually go into the field and address it. Because, like, I feel like a lot, like me, I fall into that stereotype where I'm like, I don't want to go to a white shrink. Like, I want a black one. Like, I feel like they wouldn't know how I think. They wouldn't really understand exactly how I think. And I think it's really cool to see.
Representation is important.
Representation. So, like, I guess my question is, what is, like, your dream job? Like, if everything just turned out right, what would you be doing?
Oh, well, my plan is to, right now, I'm about to start studying for my LMSW, which is a license for a master social worker. Because obviously I'm going to be coming down there soon to Texas. And I know in Texas, without your LMSW license, you pretty much won't be able to do anything, really. I know in other states, they require you to have a LCSW, which is another license, but of a clinical social worker. But I know for the state of Texas, from what I've seen so far, the LMSW and the LCSW is kind of like equivalent. And the clinical one is pretty much that's the difference. It's still a license, but it's a clinical license. And so my plan is to get my LMSW, and I want to work in a children's hospital, or I want to work in a school. And then while I'm doing that, I want to get supervision so I can get my clinical license. So then I can get my certificate in play therapy, because you have to have a clinical license to get a certificate in play therapy. And then that's pretty much how I want to, you know, work with kids, is through play therapy. But yeah, it's just a lot.
Okay. I hear a lot about is that, like, how the education system is about to be reformed. And I noticed that you said you wanted to possibly go into, like, a school. And I'm like, see, that's, like, something that I really think is important, because I don't think kids are learning how to deal with conflicts in the right way. And their home environment might not necessarily show them how to properly deal with it. And then they carry it to school and then all that. But, like, what types of reforms or education systems would you like to set into play if you were?
Well, pretty much, just psychoeducate. I think that's, like, my main thing, is just to psychoeducate people, and especially parents, especially when it comes to a school. Psychoeducate parents. You know what I mean? Psychoeducate parents, and to let them know that if your kid does have a mental health issue, it's okay. Like, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And I feel like when it comes to school systems, I mean, you have your school counselors and stuff like that, but then you can only do so much without the parent, especially when it comes to younger kids. Like, I can't really deep dive into the situation the way I would like to without the parent being there. But then some parents are so close-minded that they're like, you know, they won't want to sit down and talk about it. They don't want to admit that their kid may or may not have a mental health issue. I think due to embarrassment, and I think again in our community, people don't like to talk about it. People don't like to admit it. People don't want that title, I guess, like the quote unquote the title of having a mental health issue. So I just feel like when it comes to reform, I mean, pretty much just make people more open to like the understanding of mental health, because I feel like a lot of people, they just don't really know what it is. They may just toss it on the back burner. They think it's just not important. But I know in a lot of elementary schools, like I said, they have school counselors and school therapists and stuff like that, but you can only get so far without the parents being involved. And I'm not saying I wouldn't want the parents to be involved. I want them to be involved so I can educate them on, what mental health is, what you can do to help your kid, stuff like that. So
I think, low-key, when I was in middle school, the counselors, I didn't see them as counselors. Nobody ever told me what they were for. I thought they were just supposed to tell me what classes I was supposed to take. Yeah. Like, they weren't talking to me about, like, mental health issues. Like, I think it would be, like, cool if you were able to train the counselors better. Maybe you could be, like, the person that goes around to different schools training their counselors how to teach parents. Because I know one teacher, and she teaches like kindergartners in Indianapolis, and she always talks about like she can see exactly what kids are experiencing at home, because they're kind of like a mirror, and those kids, like, she can only get so far as the parents let them. Yeah. And so I'm just like, well, how would you even get parents to listen? Like, I feel like you watched that show called House.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, he's a doctor, and he be going through, like, drastic measures because he knows it's the right thing for these people, but they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. They, like, scared to have, like, the label of whatever their sickness has or whatever, and they'll lie to themselves, but he'll just go, like, he'll be like, well, this is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to die. Like, stuff like that. I'm just like,
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks for the kid, especially when you kind of feel like you getting somewhere with them and they're telling you these things and you're learning a little bit more about them, but then the parent gets involved and the parent pretty much come in and just shut it down. Now it's like, I feel bad for the kid, especially when they come to you and they're open with you about what they have going on in their life, and you're kind of pretty much helping them sort this out. And then the parent gets involved, and then the parent was like, no, like, this is it. It's done. It's over. Like, you've done enough. It's like, they pretty much come and just shut it down. Now the kid is just like, I was getting somewhere. I was, letting my feelings out. I was explaining this. I was explaining that. But now here come mom and dad, and they pretty much just shut it down. So it kind of sucks for the kid.
Well, it's trauma and perception attached to it. Like, parents don't want the embarrassment of having, whatever's going on at home associated, or people knowing at school what's going on at home and at private. And that's a big thing with representation too. A lot of times they don't want, forgive me for saying it, but white people all in their business and things of that nature. So it's a lot of things that have been mishandled, like you were saying, in earlier generations. A lot of times if you went to the doctor for a mental health issue, you were given improper medication or misdiagnosed, or it was handled a way that it wasn't, or it wasn't handled at all. And so there's a lot of trauma and bad perception out of there that a lot of times once you have a child who isn't aware of that, so they're willing to open up and share a lot of that. But parents who have seen that or maybe gone through that, they don't want to share as much or want to protect their children from that, or they're embarrassed about it. Mm-hmm. So I guess kind of bouncing off of that, you kind of talked about, mental health not being talked about. Even for us, I feel like for me, I never really was sat down or told, or hey, if you're having a sad moment or you're dealing with this, you can come talk to me, or this is how you deal with mental health. I feel like as I just went through life and experienced different things or struggled with different things, I kind of had to, I guess, figure it out myself. So how did you kind of go through that process and become adamant about learning and dealing with your own mental health, and then taking the next step to wanting to help others with their mental health, and then how do you go about doing that within your circle and making it less taboo of a topic so that we can make it a easier discussion within our homes?
Well, I mean, I can say within my circle, I'm assuming you're talking about like friends and stuff like that. I feel like it's easy to talk to them about it because, like you said, I feel like a lot of millennials, we have to grow up pretty much figuring it out on our own. You know what I mean? We have to go through it and experience it, and then from there we kind of know, like what it is, what it could be, what it might be when it comes to like anxiety or depression and stuff like that. And I feel like the circle of people who I hang out with, and even like y'all, like my nieces and nephews, I feel like it's more open to it now, especially because Raylan is autistic. So I feel like that is something that's kind of opening up people's minds more, at least within our family, about mental health and stuff like that. But like I said, the most major thing you can do is psychoeducate. But then like you said, I mean, what do you do when they don't listen? What do you do when parents kind of like shut down and they don't want to talk about it and stuff like that? Or, when they pretty much shut it down for their kids being able to get into it. But I feel like we also have to talk about that Black people's access to mental health facilities and stuff like that. We have to talk about that. And in play with it, we have to talk about also it kind of involves an insurance. Because, you may want to go see a psychologist, you may want to go see a shrink or, whatever, but then it's like, oh, you have a $400 copay. And it's like, from there you kind of drop it. It's like, I don't think it's worth it, or I can't afford it, type thing. You have to think about access, proximity-wise, because at least in Southern Illinois, there's a lot of people who are put on the wait list for mental health services, and there's a lot of people who they can get services, but it's 2 hours away, but they don't have a car. Or it's 2 hours away and, they have to find somebody to watch their kid while they go do that, but then there's nobody else around. At least in that specific area, and that goes for everybody in Southern Illinois, Black and white people, because a lot of my clients are, kind of like low income. So we have to think about the access, and then, the most major thing is to psychoeducate pretty much, and then from there, just hope that people open their minds and open their ears to it and realize that it's not a horrible thing, even though it has like such a bad stigma attached to it, having mental health issues. I feel like they just have to be open to it, and then, people our age, we have to break the curse pretty much.
Kind of one last question, I guess, is if somebody was coming to you, kind of like your practice, and they were struggling with something, kind of what steps do you kind of go through to help them open up, or you see somebody kind of afar who is maybe in a shell and doesn't want to open up, or you see them you can visibly see that they're struggling with something. What steps do you kind of take to kind of help them address that problem that they're having?
You mean like somebody who's like, for example, like a classmate or something like that?
Somebody that you may be close to, maybe, you can see that they're struggling or going down a downward spiral, but they're not really themselves. But that you may try to talk to them once and they're not really open about it. How may you try to go about getting them to open up or seek some help if they're not really themselves or something like that?
In situations like that, I feel like you said, I would try to talk to them the first time, but it depends on what type of person they are. Some people, you can pretty much open up the door and let them know that I am here. I see that you got something going on. I am here if you ever want to talk. And then you have to kind of leave it at that. You know what I mean? Because
absolutely,
trying to like force them or like make them do something is only going to push them further into whatever it is they got going on. You know what I mean? Some people, they need that push. You can talk to them once, and if it don't cut it, you kind of have to talk to them multiple times. You have to kind of like, tough love. You have to like kind of force them to, get help, or, seek out help, or even try to figure out, what may be wrong with them. Because some people, something might be wrong and you may not even know it. You just may feel, you may feel a mood shift, but it really could be like, acute depression. You never really know what it is. But I feel like in that situation, it depends on what type of person the person is. You may like I said, talk to them once, and they may be like, I'm fine, I'm good, or they may, they may say, I don't really want to talk about it, and you kind of leave, you kind of have to leave it at that, and just let them know that you are there, because I think a lot of the times when it comes to situations like that, people just want to know that they have somebody to lean on when they do feel this way, or they just kind of want to know that somebody around does care for them. Other people, you kind of got to be on them about it, because they need that push, like they need that extra pressure on them, like they'll know it, but like they'll know something is wrong, but they'll just be like, oh, I'll do it later. Keep it on the back burner, but you may need that, that person to like always remind you, that like you gotta get on top of this. Like you gotta get some help. You gotta do something. So in a situation like that, I think it depends on what type of person you're dealing with.
Absolutely. And then, so final question, we always ask all of our special guests, experts, this question. So for your field, which would be mental health, and for the Black community, what do you want to see, like, I guess, however many years from now? What is your goal for the mental health in Black community? What do you want to see? What is your ideal picture of mental health in the Black community?
Well, like we already said, I need people to be more open-minded about it. I need people to be way more open-minded about it, because it's important. It's a thing. You know what I mean? It's not like something that's like not real. Like mental health conditions are a thing. Like, you know what I mean? I want people to recognize it. I want people to know at least basic steps on kind of how to help people with mental health issues, even if it's not you, even if it's not your kids. It could be your sister, it could be your cousin, it could be a coworker. You know what I mean? I just think I need the Black people to be more take it more seriously. You know what I mean? Take it more seriously, be more open-minded about it, and not be so quick to shut it down, and to know that it is okay to have a mental health condition. Like, it's not some horrible thing. It doesn't make you a bad parent. It doesn't make you a bad sister or brother. It doesn't make you a bad kid. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to have mental health conditions. It's okay to recognize it. It's okay to say that. It is okay to seek help. You know what I mean? I just need Black people to be more open-minded about it and not shut it down all the time, and, keep the heavy negative stigma of it. So, you do better. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We definitely appreciate the information that you've given us. And yes, best of luck on the rest of your journey. We are so proud of you, and we're rooting for you, because you've done great so far, and we know that great things are coming for you in the future as well. And Janae, you want to take us away?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Joslyn, again. And if you're still with us, go ahead and subscribe, like this video, and comment down below the ways or what you learned from this and what you're going to take home with you. All right, guys. Peace.
Peace out.